You were listening to a Nerd Room podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Be sure to check out more from the Star Wars Commonwealth on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Hey everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Rebels Alert, the weekly podcast after show where we recap and discuss each and every episode of Star Wars Rebels Season 3. I'm running host Tim.
I'm Troy.
And we're here today to finally talk about Twin Suns. This is an arc, this is a battle that we've been waiting to come to some sort of conclusion since more or less The Phantom Menace.
Yes.
It's something that in the Clone Wars, when they brought back Maul, people were a little skeptical on what they were doing with him. I've never watched that, but from what I've heard, it does eventually turn out to be something that's good. It's welcomed into the Star Wars universe, into the new canon. And his appearance in Rebels has been one of my favorite aspects of the last season and a half or so. What they've done here between the voice acting, his overall arc, what they've changed him into, this old master, it's just absolutely fantastic, and I'm so pleased with what they've done with this character in the season and how they've integrated him into this storyline and brought a character that I think was sadly killed off in The Phantom Menace, someone that I thought could have been used right through the prequel trilogy as the Vader-esque or the Kylo Ren type of character.
Or Dooku.
Yeah, anyone.
Yep.
And I'm so happy with what they've done here. Like, how are you feeling about Maul coming into this episode?
Just great. Fantastic what they did, since they brought him back in Rebels. I thought that was cool, and just how they handled the character, right off the bat we see this crazy kind of Maul, actually very similar to what we saw in Clone Wars, which is cool to see because they kind of stayed away from that. I felt when we first were introduced to him in Rebels Season 2, so it's good that we got that little recall there, and man, this is awesome. This episode's great.
Yeah, and this is the first time, or one of the first times, that I've actually sat down and watched this on Saturday night.
Yeah.
The Twitter was blowing up, and StarWars.com, like, they're all releasing spoilers right off the back end of this, even playing to the Eastern crowd. So I just sat down, I said, I have to get into this. I was so excited. It was almost like a cinematic movie experience to me, right? Just this whole opening sequence with Maul, it just completely enthralled me. I was pulled right into this episode. Not only is he wandering the deserts of Tatooine,
right,
but he has just this look to him, like he's been wandering the desert in search of Obi-Wan Kenobi since we last saw him. And I had a problem with where they've placed this episode originally before seeing it, because I thought to myself, coming off the back end of the winter break, how are they going to drag this out? Like, we know that Maul is going straight for Obi-Wan Kenobi at this point, and Ezra and Kanan just kind of kicked around for a bit, right?
Quite a while, yeah.
And they do a great job explaining how Maul has been just wandering, and he cannot draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi. And this is where the episode kind of takes a twist, and this is where we get Ezra involved. And as we go through this, I want to talk about Ezra's involvement here, because sometimes I felt like he could have been completely absent from this and we would have gotten the same story. But there's integral parts of this, particularly when it comes to Maul drawing him out, that Ezra needs to be present for.
Yeah.
So swinging over to Ezra, we first see him here. He's in his PJs, in his space jammies, which is nice. And we have the holocrons, and it's the Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith. It's sending his message out to the Jedi. And it's interesting to see kind of canon how he has all of these holocrons kind of collected there.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny, actually, because that message that we see of Obi-Wan, I believe Kanan actually unlocked that message in the comic book as well. Like, Kanan also released that that alarm, to the other Jedis in the Kanan comic, which is kind of a cool throwback. So going off to your collection there of Kanan, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's nice to see the old Obi-Wan or the younger Obi-Wan, I guess, from Clone Wars.
Right, yeah.
And I always love that kind of integration. Again, it's pulling together these two timelines. What happened in Revenge of the Sith is now affecting what's going on in Rebels to a degree.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And this is where Ezra, he gets the idea that Obi-Wan Kenobi is trying to reach him somehow. He is in some sort of danger, and he's calling out to Ezra through the holocrons. We find out later in the episode that it's actually Maul twisting Ezra again, using him to eventually draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi. But it's cool to see Ezra interacting with Kanan and with Rex, who said, I, more than anyone, would love to have General Kenobi alive, but he's dead.
Yes.
And the nice drop line that they throw in here, and it goes back to how they constructed the rebellion and how they hid Luke and Leia, but Senator Organa confirmed the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi. That
Right.
is so cool.
Brilliant, right? Yeah, because he even keeps that from Ahsoka, going back to the Ahsoka book.
Yeah.
Ahsoka has no idea, right? Because Bail Organa won't tell her. He contemplates whether he should, right? So, oh, man.
So good. And then we see in Rogue One, he does reveal it to Mon Mothma, so
Yep.
he's kept that very close to the chest there.
Right.
But it's cool that they have these little drop lines, and this is what I appreciate so much about what they do in this episode. It's the little things that matter, because when you look at the episode as a whole, there's not a ton there
Yeah.
as far as what's going on, but at the same time, there's so much built into this episode. They've done so much with what seems to be so little.
That's right.
And it just, oh man, I'm going to say this blew me away so many times throughout this discussion, because it absolutely did. Like, this episode delivered more than I thought it ever could.
It really did, yeah.
Even with the duration of the fight being fairly short, I just thought it was incredible.
Oh, it's great. And there's so much payoff, you know. Again, going back to the books, if you read the books, there's little eggs in there, and the comic books, there's so much to give, like, the hardcore, sweaty Star Wars fans out there. There's a lot there on our plate in this episode.
There's so much.
Yeah.
And we see Ezra throughout this whole episode, too. Again, he's hearing Maul in his head.
Yeah.
And I like that they've pulled this through. And Ezra seems to be, even when he's going in to see the holocrons, he does close his eyes and seemingly use the Force a bit, like to open the door that automatically opens.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see Ezra connecting again with the Force, because this is something that we've talked about for the last 3 or 4 episodes of how they've pulled back from this whole Force aspect of the TV show. And Ezra seems to be just playing like he's someone normal, like he's not connected into the Force.
Right.
And at the end of this episode, I feel like he's back ingrained in this. Like I don't know if this is, again, a rite of passage or something that he's done. He's met Master Kenobi. Like, I just felt like they weren't utilizing him as a Jedi or as an apprentice.
Right.
Padawan.
Padawan, yeah.
But now I feel again like, okay, we're going to get back into this. Season 4 is going to explore a lot more of this. Again, we're going to take another step with Ezra.
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, because we've been talking about that for a while now. You know, it's been very inconsistent with Ezra, whether he's, a Padawan or not. In the last 4 or 3 episodes, he's been lacking in the Force, for sure.
But it's nice to see them kind of address all this a bit
Yes.
here. And it's also nice to see Hera making a plea to Ezra when they're discussing. When Ezra does want to go, he wants to mount some sort of expedition to go and find Obi-Wan Kenobi, whether it's with him or Kanan. But Hera makes a plea to him about staying, because he's one of the most important pieces of this Battle of Lothal that they're planning here. They're going to take out Thrawn's factory here that's creating the TIE Defenders. They're mounting this massive assault, or they think they are, which maybe or maybe not coming in the next episode.
Right.
But it's cool to see how important and integral Ezra is becoming to the rebellion itself, especially to one of the first big attacks they'll be doing as a rebellion.
That's right. Yeah, this is the first big one, really. I mean, and then coming up after that would be, I guess, the Battle of Scarif.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
So cool. And Ezra, as they've shown throughout a lot of this season, is that he's quite independent, and he's quite convinced that he needs to go and help Obi-Wan Kenobi here. And he commandeers an A-Wing, and I love seeing these old ships, and flies off to Tatooine with Chopper stowing away in the background. I found it quite funny that he didn't notice he was there the whole time.
I know. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I thought he knew.
Yeah.
Until he looked back as a Chopper, but
A little strange.
Yeah.
But landing here on Tatooine, this is for me when the episode really gets going. I like how they started the episode. It's a bit different than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be all on Tatooine.
Yes.
It's going to be all focused in on Maul and Kenobi.
Yeah.
But I like that they tied in to the main rebels, to the Ghost Crew here. I felt like it made it part of a more integral story when it comes to rebels, when it comes to the Ghost Crew, our main characters that we're seeing. It feels like it ties it in a little better.
Right. Yeah. See, it was funny for me. I mean, I've grown to like it. I've watched this episode a couple of times, and because I'm a big fan of the Clone Wars, I do feel if this was the Clone Wars, they did such a good job in that series of having your main characters like Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, but at the same time they could give you 2 or 3 episodes on just the clone troopers themselves, or Jar Jar Binks, or Mace Windu even. I felt this episode could have been so much stronger if we got to do that and get away from the Ghost Crew and just give us Maul and Obi-Wan. But again, the core 6 is Ezra and the rest of the Ghost Crew, so it makes sense that you have to tie these characters with this whole Tatooine story or twin son story. So I grew to like it.
Yeah. I agree with you, though, to a certain degree. I like that they integrated the Ghost Crew, but I think that they could maybe have approached it a bit differently. Like, kind of how the episode ends, I'm a bit left like there's a major loose thread hanging here.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that a bit, but I think it is important to have the Ghost Crew part of the episode.
Yeah.
But maybe not in the way that they actually were, particularly when it comes to Ezra.
Right.
Because he plays like an important part in bringing Obi-Wan and Maul together.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they could have wrote around that and had some other way. I think they could have, as we get into the discussion here, that they could have had him, because he does mention that he's protecting someone, right?
Right.
So they could have had that be what draws Obi-Wan out, as opposed to being drawn out by Ezra's presence on Tatooine.
Yeah.
And going out and saving him.
Right, yeah. And that makes sense. And again, yeah, you just go back to Clone Wars, because I do know Clone Wars was handling a much more bigger scale of characters, you know, because you had the army, you had the generals, you had the Jedi, so you even had Saw Ventress episodes, right? Whereas here, the Rebels really is just the Rebel 6. So it makes sense that you have to sprinkle each character in each episode. You can't really get away from them. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
But maybe in season 4, they could maybe broaden out, because now we have Wedge and a couple of other characters. They could bring back some other characters that we're familiar with and kind of build off, because I would like to build the universe a bit more through Rebels.
Exactly.
It's quite focused in on the Ghost Crew for the most part.
Right.
And we've seen them kind of go out and do this Obi-Wan Maul arc, or more or less the Maul arc. We had some of the Vader stuff.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to build the universe a bit more by using characters like Wedge and AP5, like we did in the last episode.
Yeah.
And kind of extending and branching out, because we get everything with the books and the comics. I'd love to see them integrating some of these characters that we've seen in the books, or even some of the characters from Rogue One. And I think they have an opportunity to do that and to leverage what they did in Clone Wars and bringing in other characters and telling slightly different stories that don't feel like filler episodes.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Sabine. Like, you can do that now. There's so much characters over there. You can just play around with them for a bit.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely. So Ezra finds himself on Tatooine here. He is drawn in by a Sith holocron, using his own holocrons here. And I love that they threw in the Sand People here. This was brilliant. And also, when Ezra's running back, he yells, "Chop! It's a trap!" And
yeah, you caught that too.
Yes!
Yeah, that was great.
So many nice little throwbacks in such a small little scene. And I love seeing the Sand People, the voices or the sounds that they make.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah, and the fact also, I love that he also, when the A-Wing explodes, he says the A-Wing scared them off. They don't like loud noises, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of out of A New Hope as well.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. I did think it's a little weird, you know, again, the inconsistency in Ezra. We've seen Ezra at the beginning of the season just take out stormtroopers. He's going crazy. And then here, you know, a couple of Sand People just have their way with them. And I'm just like, he didn't pull out his lightsaber out, I think.
No, didn't use the Force. No. Chop saved him.
Chop saved him, right? And then, you know, obviously Maul stepped in there a little bit too, but
yeah. Struck him down.
Yeah.
And then we have Ezra and Chop wandering through kind of the rock formations, very similar to what we saw with R2-D2 and C-3PO kind of wandering through that in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Just a lot of nice callbacks to Tatooine. I feel like they used it, like the environment enough, what we're familiar with, and didn't kind of hit us over the head with it. It was nice that we got a quick thing with the Sand People.
Right.
We do see Obi-Wan riding dewbacks. We use the rock formations, the desert, the twin suns. There's so much imagery there, but I felt like it was just so organic. Like, I didn't feel like they're like, "Hey guys, remember A New Hope? Here's this."
Yeah, here's
this.
Jawas. They could have thrown everything at us.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And Jabba's palace off in the distance and all this. They could have done so much.
Yeah,
Or
and I'm
like
glad
bounty
they didn't.
hunters, or he could have landed in Mos Eisley. You
Yeah.
know? And there's so much they could have done there. Like, it would have been fun.
Right.
But I don't think. I think it might have weighed down the episode too much, because you're trying to pick out all these Easter eggs. When what we really want here is to see the battle between Obi-Wan and Maul.
Of course.
And I found myself, I thought, you know, as we get into this fight, as we get into these Tatooine scenes, I'm thinking, wow, they're not leaving very much time for Obi-Wan and Maul. Like, I looked and paused, and I was like, we're 23 minutes in, and we still have not had the two of them encounter each other.
Yeah.
And so that's quite deep into the episode to leave this fight to. But after is all said and done, I think it was appropriately done. Like, I don't think I would want this drawn out any more than it was. Like, I think that we had the right amount of dialogue from Obi-Wan Kenobi, the right amount from Maul, and Ezra being an important part of the episode. But again, he just kind of rides off at the end, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, this episode really picked up for me actually right at the point you mentioned when he's going through the sandstorm.
Yeah.
I thought the animation there was incredible. Seeing the sand in his hair, seeing Chopper's battery breakdown, I was blown away. That was great. Ezra, though, when he gets dismissed by Obi-Wan, it made a lot of sense to me. Actually, there's a lot of things there at first I didn't like. Then watching it again, I was like, you know what, this really makes sense, because, you know, Kanan was never brought up in the Jedi ways. He was never really a master or a knight. So for him to, you know, mentor Ezra, he's always struggled with. But when Obi-Wan tells you, you know, get out of here. You're gonna listen to Obi-Wan because he's the master, and he's kind of the one that can really bring the light to Ezra. So when he dismissed him, I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I feel that's okay. But man, the build up, the slow burn throughout this whole episode to that samurai showdown, because that's what it is. This is like no other lightsaber battle we've experienced before.
No, and I love that they just didn't have them whipping around, and that's what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And like you said with the imagery, like what they did with the animation here, I felt that played almost as an important part as Ezra in this episode.
Right.
The way that they were, a lot of wide shots, the music was fantastic, but looking at what they did, again, Tatooine doesn't have the color palettes, the contrasts that you can use and do these big wide shots, but they successfully did it here. They just, it was so good. And I felt it played such an important part in building up the fight, right? It's making you feel familiar with your surroundings, but at the same time, it's making it feel like something completely different.
Yes.
Oh man, so good.
It's great. It's
incredible. I'm sweating talking about this. And we do find out here that Ezra has been manipulated again by Maul to draw out Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Ezra eventually collapses in the desert and he's approached by the cloak figure that is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
I love seeing him with the big hood up. Oh. And man, this interaction that we have eventually here between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ezra, this is fantastic. Yeah. Steven Stan, this man is a genius.
Genius, yes.
That voice, you'd swear you're watching Alec Guinness. Like, this could have been archival footage or archival audio that they used and put into this. Like, it was on point.
It was incredible. I was blown away when he opened his mouth for the first time and I could hear, the dialogue coming out. I was just blown away. This was crazy. The same voice actor does AP5. And what class, this voice actor is just phenomenal. And he really just brought that character to life that much more so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. And even Sam Witter.
Oh, he's incredible always. Yeah. He's great. Yeah.
Like I couldn't think of two better voice actors. Just every word that came out of their mouth, I was hanging off, especially Obi-Wan Kenobi. I rewound it like 3 times.
Yes.
So before I even got to the fight, I was like, I have to listen to this. Like, it sounds so good.
It's great. And you know what? The cool thing going on with his dialogue is he breaks the fourth wall, you could say, right? Because he calls it out like Ezra shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Really, you shouldn't be here. But Maul's, twisted things around because everyone's like, there's no way Maul's like, or not, there's no way that Obi-Wan has interacted with a Jedi since, episode 3. So this is kind of crazy. So the fact that Maul kind of pulled off this scam to bring Ezra here, kind of really using Obi-Wan Kenobi's call in reverse, because that call was actually to, make the Jedi flee, whereas here is Maul using it in reverse. So nice. That's kind of interesting.
I also like that Ezra just called him Master Kenobi.
Yes, I was looking for that. I was waiting for that.
Yeah, that he didn't call him Obi-Wan.
That screwed up a lot of things.
That was very important. Like, these guys are paying attention. Like, it's such a little thing.
It is.
That it matters a lot to Star Wars fans that they didn't do. They didn't have him call him Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was just Master Kenobi. Love that little bit.
Yes.
It makes everything, the continuity and canon, it's so important to guys like you and I.
It is.
And the fact that they take such good care of it makes me just appreciate what they do so much more.
Right. And Obi-Wan Kenobi also, again, he touches upon the truth. He's always kind of been bending the truth around, and he touches upon that in this episode, with the holocrons, and you kind of believe what you want to believe.
Yeah.
Right? So great callbacks here, man. Great.
Awesome. And after Ezra is sent on his way here, we have this final interaction between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Maul here. The fact that Maul stands there across from him and they have this dialogue, like Obi-Wan Kenobi seems to be wanting to almost talk things through. Like, battle seems to be the last thing on his mind. But it's not until Maul says to him, "You're protecting something."
Yes.
No, you're protecting someone.
Yes.
Oh. How do you think that Maul knows about Luke?
I don't think he did. I think Maul is experienced enough, and he knows how to get the best and what he wants, the answers out of his opponents. We've seen him do it with Ezra. We've seen him do it with plenty of characters before. And I think he's just playing off of Obi-Wan. He kind of feels something, and that look that Obi-Wan gives him, that little twinkle in his eye when he mentions someone. That's when he set things off right there.
That's an interesting take, because that's not how I took it at first.
Okay.
But I like that
Yeah.
more, because I'm thinking to myself, like, if he knew there was someone else, why didn't he just use that someone else? But
Right.
it's cool that, like, because we've seen him manipulate Ezra so much that he's
Yep.
just playing to the situation,
Always,
right?
yeah.
He gets the idea that Kenobi just wouldn't be here because he knows about the
knows,
rebellion,
yes.
he knows about everything going on,
Right.
and why would he be here? And he's not protecting a weapon,
Right.
well, he is, I guess, in a sense,
Yeah.
but he's like, I love that. Is okay, that makes me feel
Yeah.
so much better about that.
And there's big things because, you know, ultimately, you know, Maul was the one that killed Obi-Wan's like main squeeze,
Yeah.
right? Like that's a huge factor. So they go way back. There's some history there.
Yeah. So the idea of Maul seeking revenge on Obi-Wan Kenobi, because he did, like you said, he killed Satine.
Yep.
Do you think it's appropriate for Maul to be wandering around and pointing his anger, this revenge, at Obi-Wan Kenobi? Like, I know he cut him in half.
Yeah.
But you almost think that the score would have been settled by killing Satine, and, you know, would have been better or more appropriate for Maul to go after the Emperor? Or do you think this is more about closure for Maul? Like, he almost knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
Or he was either going to die or go out fighting with Obi-Wan Kenobi to some degree. Like, do you think there's a little bit more there? Or do you think it's just that he is a vengeful person?
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. He's an vengeful person. I do think, for a writing standpoint, it made sense that we, you know, have some closure to his character. There's no way, you know, that theory out there shut down. He's not Snoke. You know, you had to get rid of Maul eventually. They did have a couple battles in Clone Wars too, even after the Satine death, I do believe. But nothing was ever settled, right? And everybody did believe that, you know, that Obi-Wan was dead. Plus, we do know Maul did have a showdown with Ahsoka as well in that book too. So there were some scores to be settled. And again, it just goes down to that Sith mentality of that revenge. You know, that he kind of let this become an obstacle instead of keeping his focus on Palpatine. Because in Clone Wars, Palpatine actually, you know, does some damage to Maul. And even in that book, Son of Dathomir.
Okay,
right?
yeah,
that's right. So there's some stuff going on between Obi-Wan for sure and Maul.
I gotta get your take on the fight here.
Oh, Form 3 in effect. I think it's Form 3.
Jeez, like,
oh my god.
They kind of sat there and stood their ground, and they both, you know, cranked at the lightsabers. And I love that Obi-Wan Kenobi changed his form.
Yeah.
So he did whatever, the Form 3, as
yeah,
you call it,
which is iconic. Yeah.
over the head, and then he stands back.
Right.
Into that Qui-Gon pose.
Yes.
I love that. Like, that again, it comes down to the subtleties of this episode, and that was one of the best ones. And just how short this fight was. Like, in my mind, I thought this was going to be a massive throwdown.
Right.
We're going to see them fighting the same way we saw Dooku and Yoda fighting in Attack of the Clones. It's going to be flipping and all over
Duel
the
of
place.
Fates. Yeah.
Exactly. And it wasn't. It was, Maul came out in the same way that he killed Qui-Gon,
exact same move. He went for that same blow with the two hands, going for the chin, and Obi-Wan struck him down right down the middle.
Right vertical too.
Perfect.
Like, how great of a callback is that too?
Perfect, right? Especially, you know, because when Obi-Wan first took on Maul, you know, he was just a Padawan, and that actually made him a Jedi Knight, is from taking out the first Sith in a long time. To see that full circle go, you know, like I mentioned before, Clone Wars, they did fight, but here Obi-Wan has just grown so far from Clone Wars. And that fighting style, and it just made sense because, you know, the Jedis have always been kind of inspired by the samurais, and to finally see this battle, and it would make sense that it'd be a 2 minute, or not even, like a 3 second, 3 blows, you know, 2 counters and the blow. Man, that was epic, and it still doesn't take away from the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader.
No.
You know, it really doesn't take away from that. We do see Vader, I mean, spoilers, at the end of Rogue One, we do see what Vader can do with a lightsaber, and man, this is one of my favorite. I've said it before, Sabine's. No, I take it all back. Like, this blows Sabine's lightsaber battle out the water. This is up there with the Duel of Fates from Episode 1. This is up there with Episode 3's battle, and and Ahsoka's, of course, with Vader. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah, this show has given us some of the best lightsaber battles.
Yeah,
and I have to agree with you fully. This is incredible what they did. I, again, rewound this 3 or 4 times to rewatch this.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just so expertly executed. And I just can't believe that, like, in my I thought for sure they were going to have a massive throwdown.
Yeah.
But this is so much better. And I like that Obi-Wan kind of held Maul there, and they had this little interaction as Maul is passing. He says to him, "Tell me, is he the chosen one?" And Kenobi just responds with, "He is."
Yeah.
Like,
incredible, so poetic, you know, the way it ends with those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like bitter enemies, but
Yeah.
they have this really close moment.
right.
Like Maul dying in Obi-Wan Kenobi's arms
Right.
as he reveals to him that the Chosen One is on Tatooine, the one that's going to vanquish the Sith. This is an objective or something that Maul has wanted.
Right.
Since I've watched him in Rebels here. I've
Yeah.
never seen the Clone Wars stuff.
Yeah, definitely since the Palpatine fights. Yeah.
But just such a great ending. It's not like an explosive ending. It's
Yeah.
quiet. It's subtle. It's just perfect.
Yeah, what a better way. There's no better way to take out this character.
No.
So well deserved how they pulled it off. It was just fantastic. I love what they did there, and you know, they kind of had that common ground there that, you know, ultimately, you know, we got to keep our focus here on the Sith. Obi-Wan just knocked out of the park. It's funny though, the Chosen One, because I still do believe. It's funny how you look at it, because I do believe still, obviously, Anakin is the Chosen One, but at this time, you'd have to understand that Obi-Wan basically realizes that Vader is Vader and he's not coming back from the dark. So the new efforts from him and Yoda is Luke is the Chosen One, but ultimately it still is Anakin. It's just Luke is the one that brings Anakin around. But at this time, they don't know how the story is going to unfold. So they would think Luke is the hope, at least.
Yeah, definitely the hope. And it's interesting because in the absence of Luke, Vader doesn't turn out the end of Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And kill the Emperor.
Yeah.
It's only in the presence of Luke. So
Exactly.
it depends on how you look
How
at
you look at it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Oh.
yeah.
And then we get that end of Luke.
This, like,
Oh.
we had talked about this in the past, about the possibility of a cameo of Luke. We said, you know, he can't interact with Kanan Ezra. He can't interact with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, there's a lot at stake here. They could have taken this down a path where they really wanted to include Luke and have some sort of cameo.
Right.
But what they did here, just having him on the horizon with the twin sons, we have Aunt Beru. That's straight out of A New Hope, that call. And you see him skipping, running across the horizon there. Like, what a way to have a cameo from a character that we're not going to see for a couple of years yet. And oh man, I just loved what they did there. They put it in there, and this goes back to the comic books, because Obi-Wan Kenobi has that watchful eye on Luke, and he kind of wanders around sometimes. He helps them out a few times, never really interacts with them, but he's always kind of acting as this guardian from afar. Right. And this just, again, reinforces that.
Yeah, and you know, he has the classic pose where he's pulling on his goatee, which we do see, or his beard, which we do see obviously at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Yep. Same kind of thing. Funny enough, though, I know it's far. I know it's a silhouette of Luke, but how old did he look? He looked really little.
Way too young.
Way too little.
Yeah, because he should be about, what?
16.
Yeah, 15, 16?
17, actually, because this is 2 years before Episode 4.
Yeah.
Luke's 19 then.
He looked about 12,
yeah,
I'd say.
And we've seen Leia already, and Leia looks like 16 in season 2, I think we saw her. So that's a little weird, but again, you know, it's a silhouette. It's pretty far away. Who knows? But he runs like a little kid.
Yeah.
But wow. Oh, man. That was incredible. And, you know, we all called it. I think most fans out there called it. This would be the final episode of Maul. Yeah. For sure.
And it's an appropriate final episode. I think this character has had a great run.
He did.
You know, he was cut short, or cut in half, I guess.
Twice.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I've never seen anything in the Clone Wars, but what they've developed this character into, he is now on a stature of not quite a Vader, but he is up there amongst some of the best villains we have in the Star Wars universe. Yeah. And I think a lot of the credit goes to what they've done in Rebels here. This old master stuff is brilliant.
Yeah, Dave Filoni, he handled it, you know, because going into Episode 1, everybody loved the look of this character, and we were robbed. We didn't get enough of him. So, you know, Dave Filoni brought him back, and he knocked it out of the park. We get more comics, which is cool. I finally read the first one, and I'm liking it so far. I
think
can't
the
wait
second one comes out this week.
Yeah.
I think so, maybe.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's coming up, and I've seen Cad Bane's going to appear in a couple of those comics too. So keep your eyes open for that.
Yeah. What did you think about them not using Duel of Fates mixed into the score? I thought they were going to do it because they've done such a great job about weaving in the original trilogy's soundtrack, the original trilogy's score, into the score of Rebels. I really thought we were going to get a little bit of it mixed in there. I don't know if it would have been too much. Yeah. But if they had done that would have been, that is my only small, like, little nitpick when it comes to the aesthetic of the episode, is that I would have liked an integration of Duel of Fates in there, because that was such a big score when they're fighting Maul the first time. Like, I think, again, bring it around full circle would have been cool. It's not a huge issue that it's not in there, but it would have been awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I didn't even think about that, but that would have been really cool. It might have been a little too much on the sand setting, especially because it was such a a smooth transition. It's just such
Yeah.
a quick, damn, yeah, that would be pretty cool though. Now that I'm thinking about it in my head, but I like what they did. I think my only nitpicks, if I have any, was still I feel like we could have pulled this episode off without Ezra.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to here.
Yeah, but it opens the door. Like, well, what the hell's his fate now? Like, what's gonna happen with Kanan and Ezra? It's kind of opened the doors more so now. There's a lot of questions to be answered for now.
They tied up a lot of those loose threads. Like I like how they ended the arc here with Maul.
Yeah.
But what do they do with Ezra? Like I agree with you to a degree.
Yeah.
You could have done this episode without Ezra and just
Right.
had when Maul was finally killed by Obi-Wan, that they did feel that relief in the Force almost. So you could
Right.
have gotten like, okay, Maul is no longer here, because that's kind of the implication when he flies away with his ship towards the end, is like Maul is done. Even not seeing the fight himself, he just assumes that Maul is dead.
Yes.
And so you could have had that same effect by having, like I said, some sort of relief in the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And the big question here is Ezra kind of walks up and says, this is my family. This is where I belong.
Right.
And like, is he never going to tell anyone about Obi-Wan Kenobi? Like, how do they gonna fix that? That's the only
Right.
question I have.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have Ezra in the first part of this episode, you don't have to worry about him knowing that Obi-Wan Kenobi's alive, because Ezra's not really aware that he's protecting someone.
Exactly. He has no idea about that. He doesn't know the bigger picture. He's all about join the rebellion, but he has no idea what Obi-Wan is set out for. And another thing is, Obi-Wan must be talking to Yoda. He must be interacting with Yoda somehow, because he knew who Ezra was, and I don't think Chopper told him.
No, it's probably has to come down to
Bail?
Like, did he say his name?
Yeah, I said Ezra Bridger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he did know who he was. So it must be either Bail or, again, this larger connection to the Force. Because
Right.
remember at the end of the Ahsoka book, when he goes deep into the trance, into the meditation, and he figures out to talk to Qui-Gon?
Yes. So there's that, and we know Yoda obviously was interacting with him as well. Yeah, that's right though. The Ahsoka book. Shoot.
Yeah.
Again. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I still believe as Kanan's done. Like, I don't know about this season, but season 4 for sure. But Ezra, there's so many doors open left for this kid.
He is a loose thread for
Yeah.
sure. And this, I don't know if they're ever going to revisit this, because it's perfectly done with the exception of that.
Right.
Like, they close out all of the doors. Like, Ezra doesn't interact with Luke.
Yeah.
Maul doesn't tell everyone that Luke's around
Right.
or that Kenobi's there. Maul dies.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else is executed perfectly, that it leaves the whole canonical universe intact from what we have, except for this Ezra piece. So
Right.
I don't know if he's going to tell Kanan, I interacted with Master Kenobi, he's actually alive.
Right.
And, or if he's going to go tell, hey, Hera, we have another Jedi over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing hanging out in this sand planet, but like, we got to go get him.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that's kind of left up in the air.
Right. And I mean, Obi-Wan did tell him, like, Ezra, you're not meant to be here. So
Yeah.
maybe Ezra took that, like, well, I guess I'm not meant to say anything from what I've seen on that planet, even though they do know he went over there. Right?
Yeah, and like
So-
you look at Ezra and how he's been in the past, like he's never been subtle.
No.
Like, or he's never been one to, listen to someone. Like, again, like I think it comes back to what you said, that he respects Master Kenobi
Right.
more than anything.
Yes.
But I just still find it hard to believe that he's not going to say anything to anyone.
Yeah.
He's just come back with this like sense of family and this sense of like, this is my path now.
Right. Do you think that set him on the path of good now? Like, it's for sure there's no playing with the dark side. Maul is gone. There's none of that apprentice stuff going on. He's on that light path.
Ever since we talked about it at the first couple episodes here, there's an episode there when basically they bro hug it out, him and Kanan. Ever since then, I've never thought that he's going to turn.
Right.
It's gonna take quite an effort now, I think, to get Ezra to turn. If Maul wasn't able to do it, that would have been the appropriate person.
Exactly.
If they're gonna tip him over the edge one way or another. Because he's given in to Maul so many times. He's been manipulated by Maul so many times. Even going back to season 2,
Right.
where it almost gets them all killed.
Yes.
And it blinds Kanan to a degree. That would have been an appropriate way to turn Ezra, or at least get him teetering on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
But now that Maul's gone, and Ezra seems to have not even shown anything like that throughout this whole season, with the exception of the first few episodes.
Right.
I don't think they can really write him that way anymore. Like, I don't buy that he's going to go down the dark side path unless something really significant happens either in this last episode next week or into season 4. I don't know what they're going to do, but right now I'm going to say no. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't see it. I mean, Kanan would have to die in a certain manner. Maybe he'd have to know that Obi-Wan's out there and he hasn't, come in to play at all and help them out when some characters have passed away, but even then that seems like such a stretch. I don't think we're going to see Obi-Wan. I don't want to see Obi-Wan actually ever again in Rebels, because I think, you know, what's done is done, and he served his screen time. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. And if they do, it'll probably be handled in a book, because it is still Disney XD. And to take your main kid character and turn him bad for a season while little kids are watching, don't see that happening.
No, like, and with Sabine being a significant character in this now, like, they could shift the focus to her and have the episodes kind of surround her and be more about her, and using Ezra as kind of a Maul type character that kind of comes in and out of the episodes and kind of is playing a bit with the rebellion.
Right.
I don't know, that's something that they could do. But fantastic episode. And we've spoken about this before, but do you think this is going to close the door on an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie?
No, I think this actually opened the door even more so. Yeah, I think there's a lot we can do now with Obi-Wan. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But I definitely think we're gonna see a movie. Even Gareth Edwards has been saying he'd love to get his hands on an Obi-Wan movie. I think he just said that this week.
Yeah, so, there's got to be something big going on in The Last Jedi or Episode 9 that they're not talking a lot about this character, because every single fan, and it's going to be even bigger now, wants to see this character in a solo movie, developing what he was doing either right after Revenge of the Sith or wherever they can place it in that 18-year time span or whatever. Like, whatever they do there, I think it'll be great. They have a little bit of this to work in, but they don't have to worry about much because there's not a lot of interaction there.
Right.
And I think they could do a lot there. And I agree with you. This is something I want to see more of. And it's something that I think we're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
What an episode, man. Twin Sons, it delivered as they promised. This has been an incredible back half of the season. And next week we go into 0 Hour. This is the season finale. It's the 1 hour special. This is going to be Thrawn's big moment. One way or another. And I'm super excited to discuss this next week. Yeah, can't wait. Looking forward to it, guys. This could be the end of Thrawn or Callus. We will see. Maybe both. Yeah, so looking forward to it. So make sure you stay tuned and keep up with SW Rebels Alert. Yeah, we will be back next week. If you guys have comments, questions, or would like to be part of the show, just make sure to fire us an email at thenerdrm@gmail.com, or you can comment on our Facebook or YouTube pages, and you can always grab us on Twitter. Our handles are at the end of the episode. We're always kicking around, talking Star Wars on Twitter, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So, man, Twin Sons, it's a wrap. We got one more episode this season. It's been an incredible season. Yes. We've got Star Wars Celebration to look forward to, with hopefully some footage from season 4. So it's going to be a big couple weeks in Rebels, and I look forward to coming back here next week, run into the Nerd Room here, and discussing 0 Hour, the season finale of what I'm going to say right now is the best season of Rebels. Yeah, after the last episode? Yeah, I'm with you. Even in the absence of the season finale. Right, yeah. Nice. Absolutely love it. Yeah. All right, guys, until next week for Star Wars Rebels Alert, I'm Tim. I'm Troy. This has been a Nerd Room podcast production. You can find our hosts, Tim and Troy, on Twitter at TheNerdRM and Troy TheBoy87. Don't forget to subscribe to The Nerd Room on iTunes, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search The Nerd Room Podcast. Be sure to head over to StarWarsCommonwealth.com to find other podcasts on the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network, including Talk Star Wars, Generation X-Wing, Tumbling Saber, Rogue Squadron Podcast, and the Skyhopper Podcast. Follow the Star Wars Commonwealth on Twitter at SW Commonwealth and take your first steps into a larger world.